I want you to picture something before I tell you who I am. A woman standing in a glass lobby, holding a wooden box she built with her own 2 hands, for her sister's engagement dinner, while a maitre d' runs his finger down a list twice and can't find her name. That woman is me. And in about 4 minutes, I'm going to tell you what my mother said to me in that lobby, and then what she did 9 days later, standing outside my shop at 6 in the morning, that she swore she'd never do. My name's Priya Nair. I'm 34, and for 19 years, my own family thought I built birdhouses in a garage. Here's the twist you don't see coming yet. I wasn't hiding a hobby. I was hiding an entire life. Before I get to the lobby, because you need context or none of this lands, you should know what my family actually believes about me. My mother tells her friends I tinker. My sister Rima introduces me at parties as the crafty one. Nobody at our dinner table has ever once asked what I charge for a piece, because nobody has ever imagined the number has more than 2 digits in it. Here's the number. $14,000. That's what a client paid last spring for a dining table I built from a single storm-felled oak. And that client wasn't a stranger. She was a magazine editor who later put my studio on a list of the 12 furniture makers reshaping American design. My mother has that magazine. It's on her coffee table. She has never opened it past page 10. Why would a grown woman hide something like that from her own mother? Hold that question. It's the whole engine of this story, and I promise you the answer isn't what you think. Let's go back further, because the first lie was never mine. It was hers. My father was a cabinet maker, small shop, thin margins, sawdust in the creases of his knuckles that never fully washed out. He used to say a good joint should outlive the man who cut it. When I was 15, his heart stopped on a Tuesday afternoon, standing at his bench. My mother had his tools gone from the house inside 3 weeks, not sold, given away, to men she barely knew, like she was afraid the wood grain itself might be contagious. I found one thing before it disappeared. His marking gauge, the tool he used to score every cut he ever made. I took it out of a donation box in our garage and hid it in my closet like it was stolen. I was 15. That was the first disobedient thing I ever did, and it's the reason everything after this happened at all. 6 years later, with $4,000 saved from 2 jobs my mother didn't know I was working, I left for a woodworking apprenticeship in Vermont, and I told her I was figuring things out. She heard that sentence, in one form or another, for the next 13 years. I built a career the slow way, 9 years learning under 3 different master builders, 2 of them so demanding I cried in my truck more than once. I built my own studio at 29, and somewhere in there, without ever deciding to, I started introducing myself only as P, no last name on my website. No face in the write-ups. When a design blog wanted a portrait, I sent a photo of my hands holding a chisel instead. I told myself I liked my privacy. The truth was smaller and sadder. I'd learned at 15 exactly what my family does to things they don't understand, so I made sure they never got close enough to try. That worked for 13 years. It stopped working the day the invitation arrived for Rima's engagement dinner at a venue called The Ledger, a glass-walled event space 2 blocks from my own studio. Close enough that from my workbench, I can watch their valets park cars I'll never be invited to arrive in. My mother called about that dinner with a request, not an ask. You'll build the centerpiece, won't you? As your gift. Nothing fancy. You're handy with that kind of thing. Not a guest bringing a gift. Labor, disguised as love. I said yes anyway. And here's why. Because I need you to understand I'm not the hero of this story yet. Not for a while. I said yes because 2 nights earlier, my sister had sent the family group chat a photo of her ring, and underneath it, quietly, a photo of my father's old workbench, the one still sitting in our mother's garage collecting dust. Rima wrote, "Wish Dad could see this. She remembers him. That's rarer in my family than you'd think. So I built the centerpiece for her, not for our mother. For 12 days, I built. And for 12 days, something in the group chat kept not adding up. Rima's fiancé Dev kept posting photos of a venue upgrade, a bigger cake, a live string quartet, for a couple who, last month, I'd overheard arguing in whispers about a credit card. I filed that away the way you file away a smell of smoke in a building you don't own. Not my business. Yet. The night before the dinner, I finished the centerpiece, full slab of walnut, hand-carved, no nails, joined the way my father taught me before he ever taught me anything else. And on a whim I couldn't explain, I made one more thing. Small dovetail box. Inside it, I placed my father's old marking gauge and a photograph of him at his bench, mid-laugh, chisel raised. I wrote on a card, "Your children should know whose hands started this." I didn't tell anyone. I just brought both pieces to the dinner myself. The lobby of the ledger is marble and orchids and a seating chart on a brass stand, 40 names in calligraphy. I checked it twice. My name wasn't on it. A hostess apologized with the careful, trained face they give you for exactly this. And that's when my sister floated over in champagne silk, laughed a small laugh, and said the sentence I will remember on my deathbed. "Oh, this is awkward. Honestly, this crowd isn't really your speed. There's a nice little wine bar 2 blocks down. You'd probably love it there." My mother, arriving at her shoulder, added the finishing touch. "It suits her better anyway." Here's what neither of them noticed. 40 feet away, on a pedestal, with a card reading "Centerpiece" by the Ledger design team, sat my walnut table, my work, under someone else's name, being photographed by a woman I didn't recognize. I set the small dovetail box on the gift table, said, "For the 2 of you," to no one, and walked out. Quick pause. If you've ever had your own work handed to someone else's name in the room, tell me below, because what happens in the next 4 minutes is for you specifically. Here's the part I didn't expect. My studio sits 2 blocks away, and I forgot, genuinely forgot, that the Ledger's entire front wall is glass. I wasn't staging anything. I was just going back to work. Those are different things. But through a window, they look identical. The bell over my shop door rang its usual crack. My crew, 3 people, all better with their hands than I was at their age, looked up and said what they say every single day. "Evening, boss." My foreman held my apron open without me asking. I put it on. Nothing theatrical, just Tuesday. Except it wasn't Tuesday for the 40 people watching through glass 2 blocks away. I found out later exactly what happened next, because it's still online. Someone at that dinner, turns out it was Barbara, my mother's oldest friend, had read a design magazine article on her phone the week before, the one with no photo, just a hand holding a chisel, headlined, "The most sought-after furniture maker on the East Coast still won't show her face." She read it out loud to the table. My mother, I'm told, did not move for a long time. My phone lit up 11 times that night. I turned it face down and finished a joint I'd started that morning. 2 days later, my mother showed up at my shop in person, in her good coat, and opened with the sentence that told me everything about how she sees the world. Not, "I'm sorry," she said. "Why didn't you tell us?" As if my silence was the offense, and their 13 years of dismissing me were just weather. I poured her water, and said the only honest thing I had. "You never asked a question you'd have to sit with the answer to." She didn't have a response for that. Mothers rarely do, the first time. Here's the twist I didn't see coming, and I need you to sit with this one, because it recontextualizes everything you just heard. 9 days after the dinner, at 6 in the morning, someone knocked on my shop door. It wasn't my mother. It was Rima. No makeup, engagement ring gone from her hand, holding a folded piece of paper gone soft from being read too many times. Dev's business account had been frozen the day before. Not overdrawn. Frozen. Tied to a company that, as it turned out, had quietly folded 2 months earlier. The wedding deposit at the Ledger, the one my sister thought was paid, wasn't. Dev had flown out that morning with 2 suitcases and a note that used the words, "For the best," the way men like that always do. Rima stood in my doorway and said the true thing, finally, out loud. "There wasn't a seat for you at that table, because I told the planner the numbers worked better without one. You've always made me feel small, just by being good at something. I'm sorry, I don't have anywhere else that's open." I had exactly one thing scheduled that morning that mattered more to my business than almost anything in 5 years. A walkthrough with a design magazine's producer, filming a feature that would have put my studio on a shortlist that changes a small business overnight. She was already in my parking lot. I had about 10 seconds to decide who I was. I told the producer we were done filming. I brought my sister inside, sat her down at the scarred work table in the back where my crew eats lunch, and I opened the little dovetail box that had come back to me. Rima had kept it, unopened, for 9 days. I put my father's marking gauge in her hands and told her how to use it. We didn't talk about Dev. We didn't talk about the seating chart. We measured a board together, twice, the way our father taught me before he taught me anything else. Here's how it actually ended, because stories that skip the bill are lying to you. I lost that feature. It went to a studio in Providence instead, and that window doesn't reopen. My savings still cover the shop lease, just barely, without the boost that segment would have given me. I don't regret it, and I'm not going to pretend that not regretting it made it free. Rima works 3 mornings a week in my shop now, doing the books, first paycheck of her adult life. My mother comes on Sundays. She's terrible at sanding, genuinely, comically terrible, but she shows up in old jeans instead of pearls, and 2 weeks ago she finally said the word she'd never once used with me. Quietly, over a badly sanded board, she said it was her fault, just that, no performance around it. I spent 19 years hiding my work so my family couldn't throw it away the way they threw away my father's. And I finally understood something, standing in that lobby, with no chair with my name on it. I never actually needed a seat at their table. I'd already built one of my own. I just hadn't told anyone it was set for them too. If your family has ever made you feel like the extra chair, build your table anyway, and leave a seat open. Someone always finds their way to it. Tell me below whose table you're building. I read every comment. And subscribe, because next week's story starts with a phone call nobody in that family wanted to answer.